My name is Lena. I was 29 when the world I thought I knew cracked open, revealing a truth I'd spent years ignoring. My older brother, Marcus, had always been the golden child charming, quick with a smile, the one who could talk his way out of anything. My mother, Clara, doted on him, her eyes lighting up at his every word, while I faded into the background, the quiet one who kept the peace. But peace, I learned, came at a cost. 3 months ago, Marcus showed up at my apartment, unannounced, as he often did. I was folding laundry, the hum of the dryer filling the small space. He leaned against the counter, casual, like he belonged there. "Lena, I need a favor," he said, his voice smooth as ever. "Just a couple grand. The shop's in a rough spot." Marcus ran an auto repair business, one he'd started with a loan I co-signed years ago, because Mom said it was family helping family. So I've been paying off the interest ever since, dipping into my savings as a pharmacy technician to keep his dream afloat. I set the towel down. "Marcus, I can't. I'm barely covering rent." His smile tightened, just enough to notice. "Come on, sis. You always figure it out. Don't make this a thing." I shook my head, the word no feeling foreign on my tongue. That's when his hand shot out, grabbing my wrist not hard, but firm enough to pin me in place. "You're not going to screw me over, Lena." His voice was low, a warning wrapped in charm. I pulled away, heart pounding, and he let go with a laugh, like it was a joke. But the bruise bloomed on my wrist by morning, a faint purple reminder I couldn't ignore. I didn't tell anyone, not at first. Growing up, Marcus's temper was just part of the house, like the creaky stairs or the chipped mugs. Mom would call it his passion, brushing off the times he'd shoved me or thrown my books across the room when I was a kid. "He's just intense," she'd say. "You're too sensitive, Lena." So I stayed silent, believing that's what family did, absorb the hurt, keep moving. But this time, something shifted. I took a photo of the bruise, time-stamped it, and saved it in a folder on my phone labeled Notes. It wasn't much, but it was a start. A week later, I got a call from my bank. A withdrawal of $4,000 had been made from my savings account, one I hadn't touched in years. The teller's voice was apologetic but firm. It was authorized by a secondary user on the account. My stomach dropped. Marcus. Years ago, when I was 19 and naive, Mom had convinced me to add him to my account for emergencies. I never thought to remove him. I drove to Mom's house that evening, the folder of evidence screenshots of the transaction, the photo of my wrist tucked in my bag. The house smelled like it always did, lavender candles and roasted garlic. Mom was in the kitchen stirring a pot of soup. Marcus lounged on the couch, scrolling through his phone. "Mom, we need to talk," I said, setting the folder on the table. She glanced at it, then at me, her face unreadable. "What's this about, Lena?" "Marcus took money from my account, without asking." My voice was steady, but my hands shook slightly. Marcus didn't look up, just smirked. "You left me no choice, sis. The shop needed it." Mom sighed, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Lena, you know how hard he's working. Why make this a fight? We're family." "Family doesn't steal," I said, louder than I meant to. Marcus stood, his frame filling the room. "Watch your tone," he snapped, stepping closer. I flinched but held my ground. Mom stepped between us, not to protect me, but to calm him. "Marcus, sit down. Lena, stop provoking him." I stared at her, the woman who'd raised me, who'd taught me to tie my shoes and read me bedtime stories. "Provoking him?" I repeated. "He stole from me, Mom, and he hurt me." I held up my wrist, the bruise still visible. She looked at it, then away, like it was nothing. "You're fine," she said. "Don't be dramatic." That word, dramatic, cut deeper than Marcus's grip. It was the same word she'd used when I was 15, and he'd pushed me into a wall for borrowing his headphones. The same word when I was 22 and found out they'd used my credit card to cover his car repairs. I'd always swallowed it, but not this time. I left without another word, the folder still in my hand. Back at my apartment, I sat at my kitchen table, the hum of the fridge, the only sound. I opened my laptop and started digging. Bank statements, credit reports, old text messages, anything that could prove what I'd always known, but never admitted. Marcus and Mom had been siphoning off me for years. Small withdrawals here, a borrowed credit card there, always with the promise of repayment that never came. I found a loan application from 2 years ago. My name listed as the primary borrower. Marcus's auto shop as the purpose. My signature was there, but it wasn't mine. The loops were too sharp, the slant too aggressive. I called the bank the next morning. The agent was kind but clinical. "You'll need to file a fraud claim," she said. "Gather any documentation you have, statements, signatures, anything proving unauthorized access." I thanked her and hung up, my mind racing. This wasn't just about the 4,000. It was about a decade of trust eroded, of boundaries crossed, of a family that saw me as a resource, not a person. I spent the next week collecting evidence, photos of old bruises I'd hidden under long sleeves, screenshots of Marcus's texts demanding money, laced with guilt trips. "You're the only one who can help, Lena. Don't let me down." Emails from Mom justifying his actions. "He's under stress. Be patient." By the time I was done, the folder was thick, each page a piece of my silence turned tangible. I didn't confront them again. Not yet. Instead, I reached out to Ms. Harper, my high school counselor, who'd always seen through the chaos of my family. She'd retired years ago, but still lived in town. When I called, her voice was warm, familiar. "Lena, it's been too long. Come over." Her house smelled like chamomile and old books. I told her everything, not just the money, but the years of excuses, the bruises, the way Mom's dismissals cut deeper than Marcus's fists. She listened without interrupting, her eyes steady. When I finished, she leaned forward. "You're not crazy, Lena, and you're not alone. What do you want to do next?" "I want it to stop," I said. "I want my life back." She nodded. "Then you fight. Not with anger, but with proof. You've already started." 2 weeks later, I found out about the house. I'd been renting my apartment for years, saving for a down payment on a small condo in Portland's outskirts. I'd finally found a cozy unit with a view of the river, and was set to close in a month. But when I called the real estate agent to confirm, her voice was tense. "Lena, there's an issue. The title company flagged a lien on your credit." "A lien?" I asked, confused. "For what?" "It's tied to a property in your name. A commercial space downtown." I froze. I didn't own any commercial property. But I knew who did. Marcus's auto shop. I drove to the county records office that afternoon, my heart pounding. The clerk printed out the documents, a deed transfer from last year, my name listed as the owner, Marcus as the co-signer, my signature, forged again. The property was the shop, valued at $200,000, with a loan tied to it that I was apparently paying off. I didn't go to Mom's house this time. I went straight to a lawyer, a woman Ms. Harper recommended named Rachel Torres. She was sharp, no nonsense, with a desk covered in neatly organized files. I laid out everything: the bank withdrawals, the forged loan, the property transfer, the Bruise photos. She flipped through the folder, her expression unreadable. "This is a strong case," she said finally. "Fraud, identity theft, and assault. We can file civil and criminal charges. But Lena, this is your family, are you sure?" I nodded. "They stopped being my family when they started stealing my life." She didn't push. "All right, let's get to work." The hearing was set for a Tuesday in late October, the air outside crisp with the promise of rain. I wore a navy blazer and slacks, my hair pulled back, the folder now a binder, organized with tabs and timestamps. Ms. Harper came with me, sitting quietly in the gallery, her presence a steady anchor. Marcus and Mom sat across the courtroom, their lawyer a tired-looking man in a gray suit. Marcus wore a button-up that looked too tight, his charm replaced by a scowl. Mom's face was blank, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Neither looked at me. The judge, a woman with silver hair and a voice like steel, called the session to order. Rachel stood laying out the case with precision: the unauthorized withdrawals, the forged signatures, the property transfer, the assault. She played a voicemail I'd found on my old phone, one Marcus had left a year ago. "Lena, don't make me come over there. Just send the money." The courtroom was silent, the words hanging heavy. Their lawyer argued I'd consented to everything, that I'd always helped Marcus, that the bruise was an accident. Rachel countered with the binder, page after page of evidence, each one a nail in their defense. When she showed the forged deed, the judge's pen paused, her eyes narrowing. Marcus took the stand, his voice dripping with sincerity. "I never meant to hurt her. She's my sister. I thought we had an understanding. I stared at him, the boy who'd once shared his Halloween candy with me. Now a man who'd stolen my future. Mom spoke next, her voice soft but firm. Lena's always been difficult. She exaggerates. We were just trying to keep the family together. The judge didn't react, just kept writing. When it was my turn, I stood, my voice steady. I trusted them because they were my family. But family doesn't lie, steal, or hurt you and call it love. I'm here to take back what's mine. The ruling came after a short recess. The judge's voice was measured but firm. This court finds in favor of Ms. Lena Carter. Mr. Marcus Carter is ordered to pay restitution of $67,800 for unauthorized financial transactions and emotional distress. The property title for 451 West Pine Street shall be returned to Ms. Carter within 10 business days. A restraining order is granted against Mr. Carter and Mrs. Clara Carter, effective immediately. I exhaled, the weight of years lifting just enough to breathe. Marcus's face was stone. Mom's lips trembled, but she said nothing. Outside the courthouse, the sky was gray, the air damp. A reporter approached Marcus, but he waved her off, climbing into his truck without a word. Mom lingered, her eyes meeting mine for the first time that day. "You didn't have to do this, Lena," she said. "Yes, I did," I replied, turning away. Back at my apartment, I found a package in the mail, a small box with no return address. Inside was a photo of me and my dad, taken when I was 8, both of us grinning at a county fair. A note was tucked behind it, in his handwriting. "You're stronger than you know, kiddo." I hadn't seen it in years, but Ms. Harper must have kept it, waiting for the right moment. I placed the photo on my mantel, next to the court order. The apartment felt different now, not bigger, not smaller, just mine. I brewed tea, sat at the table, and opened my laptop. An email from Rachel confirmed the title transfer was in motion. Another from the bank noted the fraud claim was being processed. Small steps, but forward. Marcus's shop closed a month later. He posted a long, rambling statement online, blaming family drama and misunderstandings. The comments were brutal, people piecing together the truth from court records that had gone public. Mom called once, leaving a voicemail I didn't listen to. I deleted it, along with her number. I started volunteering at a women's shelter, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. The women there were like me, quiet at first, carrying stories in their eyes. I didn't talk much, just listened, refilled coffee cups, handed out tissues. One day, a woman named Sarah asked me, "How do you keep going after they break you?" I thought for a moment. You don't let them define the pieces. You rebuild with what's yours. She nodded, her eyes bright with something like hope. At home, my mornings were simple. Coffee, a walk, a book I chose for myself. I wasn't running anymore, not from footsteps or memories. The photo of Dad stayed on the mantel, a reminder of love that didn't demand my silence. The court order stayed too, not as a trophy, but as proof I'd fought. One evening, I wrote a letter to Ms. Harper. "I'm not afraid of the quiet anymore. It's not empty, it's mine. Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't." I mailed it the next day, the envelope light in my hand. The world didn't stop turning. Marcus and Mom faded into the background. Their voices no longer loud in my head. I wasn't waiting for apologies or closure. I was living, one steady step at a time, in a life I'd reclaimed. Family isn't blood. It's the people who don't ask you to bleed for them. And for the first time, I knew exactly who mine were.